Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 16 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. My guest today is narrator Erin Moon, but also known as Felicity Munroe in the romance genre. Welcome, Erin, to Audiobook Lovin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I know, I was so excited. We were talking back and forth, and we were able to figure things out and timing and everything. And so I'm so excited to talk to you and get to know you better.
Me too. It's fun to meet this way, and then we'll meet in person and be like, oh, hi, friend.
Yeah.
Hi, old friend. We go way back.
Yeah. Well, it becomes one of those things. I mean, I know that usually I say it off air, but, bodies come out of the woodwork and we get to know each other just by conversations and things like that. And so it's a lovely community that we live in. So
it sure is. We're so lucky.
Yeah. But why don't we start with having you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been narrating and how you got started?
Okay. So I have a funky entrance story. So I'm a classically trained actor. I always wanted to be an actor. Like, I think since I was a little kid, I saw Shirley Temple do something when I was really young, maybe like Annie. And I was like, that is what my life needs to be. And so I was in New York City, and I was, slogging along, temping and auditioning and doing theater shows, like kind of stepping out of the city, which is what a lot of New York actors do. You go away, you live in New York to work in like Arkansas. And because that makes sense. And so I was doing that, and, it's not fulfilling work for me anyway, to be temping. And a friend of mine said, well, she said, I work at Recorded Books. And I was like, ooh, I like books, which is what a lot of people who are in this industry get told. I like books, and I like to read. And she was like, yeah, I know that you're an actor, and I know it seems like what I'm saying is I work recording books. But she said, actually, because she was an MFA trained actor as well. And she said, actually, I edit, direct, and proof books, and that's my survival job. And I was like, well, that sounds so much better than putting on nice clothes that I bought 10 years ago at like a cheap store to try to look good in the temping world in New York.
Yeah.
And so I started working at Recorded Books in 2005. And that's exactly what I did. I directed and edited and proofed. I mean, I've tried to figure out how many books I must have worked on. And I mean, I probably worked on like 1,000, but I probably did most of or saw to their end about 400.
Wow.
And it was like with all of the people who made this business, like just the creme de la creme, like Robin Miles and Dion Graham and George Goodall and Suzanne Torin and Carol Monda and Rosenblatt, and just everybody. And so I got to work with them and listen to them for like 35 hours a week.
Gee, darn.
4.5 years. Yeah. I mean, it super sucked. I hated it so much. No, I didn't. And I also, it was kind of cool because I started booking more theater gigs when I had that job, because I was just happier. Like, my survival job made me happy instead of made me go, oh dear God, I've got to do anything but this. And so then I started, the casting director saw me in a show off Broadway, and they didn't always like it when the actors would transition to narration, because they kind of knew that once we got into the narration side, we'd probably leave the post-production side and directing side. And that's exactly what happened. So I started narrating in 2009 in New York, and then I moved, and that's what I was doing. And I pretty quickly transitioned away and just started narrating as my main survival job, which is funny because it was my job. It is an acting job. I just play all the parts instead of one. And I do theater sometimes too. And then I moved to Vancouver on the unceded and ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, which is where I live now, about in, I think, 2014. And it was awesome because I could bring my work with me, because that's right when people were starting to build home studios. And that's exactly what happened. I walked into Audible one day, talked to Kat and Mike and said, I'm moving and I'm scared because I love this so much and I don't want to stop doing it. And it's like the best acting work. And they said, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Just build a booth, Erin. You can still work for us.
Very nonchalantly, like, what's the problem?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like, I'm moving. I'm in my late 30s. This is the scariest thing ever. And so that's exactly what I did. And then I've been in my home studio since moving here. And I also do education stuff as well. So I do a lot of like panels and workshops and coaching and stuff like that.
Yeah, you are a jack of all trades.
Yeah, I have a lot of hats.
Mm-hmm.
I wear them all. I like hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself that you're a learner and that's kind of like how you started doing all these different things to learn something new?
I think so. And I think like for me, I'm a nurturer too. So I really love to be able to help someone else. So having this kind of funky entry point and also a broad entry point into this particular industry, it was nice because I could actually nurture other people along. Like when people came into my life or when people needed coaching, I felt like I actually fundamentally had something to offer, which also lights me up. So it's kind of like if I'm not in story and working with story, then I want to help someone with their story.
Yeah, no, that's
whatever
great.
That's evolving into.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting how, so coming from corporate world here.
Yeah.
Usually we talk about the different entry points in a career and we have what we call career ladders.
Yeah.
And what you kind of, where you start and, kind of moving up the ranks and then you're going to peak and things like that. A lot of people don't really talk about what's that potential of a career ladder, right? Because it's not real corporate when it comes down to audio, what that looks like. And a lot of people didn't even know that there was like director of audiobooks.
Yeah.
What does a director of audiobooks do for those that may not know?
Yeah. So it's a fascinating thing. So it kind of varies. What's kind of nice is it used to be like we were called engineers and I'm not. Like I'm to say I'm an engineer is like really doing a disservice to all the incredible sound engineers out there. I knew how to press stop and go. And I did know how to edit some things out and I did know how to compress files. I don't know how to do that stuff anymore. But I was taught all of that just enough to be able to do my job. And it was overseen by real sound engineers. So the director job now, because before it was almost anyone who was on the other side of the glass was called an engineer. Then once in a while you'd get a real treat and you'd get a director who was like a fellow audiobook narrator. So I remember my first director was Suzanne Torin and I'd worked with her at Recorded Books for 4.5 years. And Suzanne's an amazing, like she's a lifelong actor and lifelong audiobook narrator. And so she really, like she read the whole book just like I did. She prepped it just like I did, looked at all the characters and everything. And then if there was, say, a sentence where I just didn't hit the word stress the way that it would have, more easily happened. If I didn't stop myself, then she would stop me. And it all depends on the actor. Because with somebody who has a higher skill set or like has been doing it for a while, you don't stop them very often. You basically stop them when they say wrong words. One of the things I would do when I was directing is even with these incredible actors is the only time I would stop them because they stop themselves if they screwed up a word or I would stop for that. Once in a while, I would stop them and say, hey, can you just do that one again? And I wouldn't even say why. And they knew they'd kind of squeaked one in. And I know that as a narrator too, because there's not a single book that's ever been recorded by the best people in this industry that didn't have a sentence that had a bad word stress, like, because it's about the overall story. It's not about sentence to sentence to sentence as much. And so for a director now, and even then, it just really depends on the skill set of that narrator and what you kind of know you're going to get out of them. And so sometimes if there's also, it gives you somebody to talk some of your character choices through with, to be like, so this is what I'm thinking, or, and this is why. And if they've actually prepped the book, because not all directors prep the books before, some just come in and they're read-alongs, and they're just there to kind of keep you true to the word that's on the page, and your acting choices. But sometimes you can actually have that talk beforehand and be like, so this is what I get from this book. Because a lot of what we do is literary analysis.
Yeah.
A huge, huge part of what we do. Yeah. So a director they can wear different hats. It all depends on the situation.
It's very beneficial because there's so many different ways that you can go about a character.
Yeah.
And especially, I think it would be it's really good if you're newer to the industry.
Yeah.
And by newer, sometimes I don't mean just like 5. I'll talk about sometimes even like 20 books is still new.
Yeah. That's still new. Yeah.
Yeah. That you kind of want to bounce off ideas and things like that, or just saying, hey, how would you, do this scene or whatever, or also just to have you, be called out on it, saying, no, I need more emotion. And now I have
or less.
Yes. But I also,
like, ooh, put the pressure cooker. You know what? Can we just go back on this paragraph? Can you put the pressure cooker lid on? Because I think that if you hold it back, it's going to be more powerful. But I want to feel you holding it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want more cowbell.
Yeah.
For those that just dated myself a little bit from a reference from Saturday Night Live, you can look it up, called Cowbell. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
I need more cowbell.
Totally. I love that. I haven't heard that in forever.
See, yeah. It's what you get when you hang out with me.
Yeah, exactly. A little
pop culture
old
references.
SNL reference.
Yeah. Well, that's a good example of sometimes you just need a little bit.
Yeah.
Versus it being so in your face.
Yeah.
And you guys, again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, when you Google it, you will totally understand that reference about a little bit goes a long way, a little bit more than in your face kind of thing.
Yeah.
But especially when
what we're doing is so intimate.
Yeah.
It's like, we're right. I always think of it like I'm really essentially telling my story to my deepest confessor, because whether it's first person POV or third person limited, they are getting the most intimate, intricate opinions, subtext, feelings of that protagonist. And only one person's getting that. And that's the person who gets to hear my inside voice and my outside voice, So it's kind of like, it's an interesting form of storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not only is it just specifically oral, so you're in our earbuds, if we're using earbuds, or versus, in the car blasting it, or in the house or whatever, but you're also going off of what you're telling me as far as visuals, where you're at, how your emotions, and hearing your conversation with the other characters, but then also feeling and inside I really hated her guts.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're not seeing a facial like, oh, she's giving her side eye. There might be drama there. And so we're getting all this stuff. And so it's really intimate when we're having all that stuff, aside from the actual intimate moments.
Yes, which we also get, which are so great. I did a bunch today.
Oh, good.
I had multiple orgasms today. I'm just saying.
I will say that is probably the biggest misconception to audiobooks and narrators is when it comes down to the sexy times in the books. That there is a way to perform them, specifically to are they still blushing after 100 plus odd books? Are they still getting turned on? I mean, does it matter? So I'm sure.
And everybody approaches it differently too, like all performance. I was listening actually to the one of the interviews I did with my dear friend Vikas, Adam, and just a love. And he kind of mentioned it too. It's like everybody kind of approaches this work differently, just like stage work, just like film and television. You have the people who are like total method and they go, all the way in. And then there's, and there's other people who hold things a little bit closer to the vest, and people who make larger character choices and smaller. And that's same with the sex scenes in romance, right? Like some people keep it in, some people let it out, and it just depends. And it depends on the book and the genre of romance, right? In a sweet romance, I might not have a, yes, I might not give that much.
Right.
Because it's not appropriate for that listening crew. because it's closed door romance and nothing's being seen. It's about two people falling in love in a different way or from a different angle.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, like how it is so individual, both for listeners and for narrators.
Yeah. Well, I think too, from a listener's perspective, I always say there's almost like two camps. One that is more interested in the story of how people got together in a relationship. And then there's some other, and the other camp is more about the nitty gritty, dirty talk, and the dirty times and this, and this, the spiciness of it all. Not to say that they're also not interested in the story, but there are the ones that are going to give you shit if you are, having us do it an extra slow burn or not enough scenes, or, you said it was steamy, but this is not steamy.
Yeah. Totally. It depends what they're coming for and why they stay too. Cause sometimes, the first book, say in a series, has a little bit more of that. And then those two people fall in love and they're working through their shit, but they're kind of progressing on with their lives. And then the story becomes more about the world building and the relationships at large. I think of this particularly in fantasy romance. And, there's one or two hot sex scenes, but it's not the same as in book one. And it's about your investment in the characters and, again, what you're coming for and what you stay for. And that, again, is individual.
And and you made a real good point about the different subgenres in romance, the fantasy and the PNRs and the contemporaries and things like that. And then they add, of course, the lovely tropes, like an added layer of, because even like in romantic suspense, you're going, you guys are getting shot at, stop making out.
Like, yes, we all know his chest is broad and chiseled. Now is not the time to pay attention to said things.
Yes, but that's exactly when she notices it as he's running away from the boom that just happened, kaboom, and and a bullet just missed her. Yeah, his manliness as he runs, and
it's like, I can't wait to eat that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm like, I know I'm supposed to suspend the disbelief and everything, but come on. But that's also where I say that it definitely is about the genre and what is added to it when and things like that. So it's definitely a fun discovery, I think, sometimes of how much is there going to be and what am I doing or what's being done to me.
Yeah, totally. What do I want done to me?
Yeah. Things like that. Cause it's just one of those, like, I know some readers are also like what they call mood readers. So if they're in a happy mood, if they need to have something a little bit more dark, if they're more in the sensual stuff, and then they'll ebb and choose depending on how they're feelings. So it's a really interesting dynamic of how people listen to their books. But thank you for sharing both the directors. I know that's something that a lot of people kind of come up with, and we're like, well, I didn't know there was a director position. And the same thing with like the taboo subject of sex and performing it and how to go about it. Along the lines of more process and things like that, since you kind of started on the opposite end of audiobooks and you were on the like I like to call them backstage, behind the curtain, in front of the curtain kind of thing. And did your process for like prepping a book change from being a director to then having to narrate the book themselves, or did you find that it was the exact same thing for you?
Well, because the directing that I did was more like engineer directing, and so many of the people were really highly established. And if I had a new narrator, I'd guide them more, but I'd never got the book beforehand. So it was always like they're telling me the story just like I'm a listener first time. And so I kind of loved that. I thought it was nice because then you actually have your first listener right there with you in the booth that day. So for me, so much of it comes from being a theater actor, being a theater person for my life. So a lot of it is like, I knew research lists because Recorded Books is one of the companies that actually has a research department. And so I knew that research was really important. And I knew that I'd get some help with that in some companies and not help with that in other companies. So I got, that kind of stuff. And every book has something that you got to ask about. And then the character list stuff was really script analysis. So all the stuff I learned in theater school, it's like I was saying, like literary analysis or script analysis is so much of what we do for understanding the whole feel of a book, and on top of everything about how the world is built via those characters too, because, there's world building that's happening because of the description of the world, but the world building that then comes onto us, either as a reader or as an audiobook narrator, we are making that world based on the people who are in it as well. Right. And so I've got to, just like if I read the book, I would world build based on those people. Like before I ever saw a Harry Potter movie, I had world built all of those characters. I knew them backwards and forwards. I knew what they looked like, what they felt like, all of that. I had that in my head. And so the same thing happens when I'm prepping now. I write out everything about those characters. What are their relationships to each other? Anything about where they come from, their size, because I can't do someone who's described as willowy and be like, hey, how you doing? It would really, really, unless it's like a fantasy where it's like the willowy people had very strangely low voices. Unless it's written in the book, I have to honor, if the best friend is the enthusiast who's like, I know you can do this, you're the best. Like I'm gonna go for somebody who's like the cheerleader. And then if somebody who's the best friend who kind of like makes you do things because they kind of want to see if you fail or if you succeed, that's going to be in the story of who those characters are outside of my protagonist. So a lot of that stuff comes from theater school, from doing script analysis work, and I've kept it through the years. Yeah, which is, I just now have spreadsheets.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I love a good spreadsheet, color coded, even better.
Oh my gosh. Please stop talking dirty to me, Viviana.
Yeah, character names, specific characteristics,
their accents,
accent work.
How many scenes are they in? Are they a major player or a small player?
Yes.
I put it in my spreadsheet.
Yeah. But it does help, because that's something too. It's like, how do you figure out how they're going to sound? Well, a lot of times the author had already told you. And not she sounds like a cheerleader, but in the kind of friend that they are, if they're enthusiastic, like your examples were spot on. And I literally went, God, she is a friend, but also a bitch.
Yeah. Like she's the friend who's got a dark side, right?
Yeah.
You know her. Mm-hmm. You're like, is she gonna fuck things up at the end, or is she gonna grow? Because sometimes your friends grow with you in a book, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes they become the nemesis. Who knows? But I also, if they become the nemesis, I don't want to give it away at the beginning. Yeah. So I have to also be mindful about the story crafting of like, if that friend who I was giving the voice to ends up being a jerk at the end, and you don't kind of know. I want to be light on my choice with her at the beginning, because I don't want you to know that she's going to be my nemesis at the end. She's got to start out, even if she's a bit bitchy or something like that with me, and not the best friend. I still want to be gentle, because otherwise you're going to be like, yeah, she's just going to screw you. Don't listen to her. She's just going to screw you. And unless it's very obvious at the beginning of the book, I have to be mindful about not giving things away.
Yeah. And I think that's important too, because especially if you're doing anything that has that twist at the end, oh my God, or like the mystery and the thrillers and all that other, again, even romantic suspense. It was you
all along with your beautiful chiseled chest and your rumbly baritone.
Yeah. I should have known when you took your shirt off
and my knees went weak.
Yeah.
And things happened in my panties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What gave it away? It's that move that you do with the back, like when you put your hand on the back and you pull the shirt off. That was such a douchey guy move.
Oh my God. The hockey shirt, please. I grew up in Canada. I know the hockey shirt well. We practice it as small children.
And now it's like, and TikTok thirst traps.
I should totally start the hockey, the audiobook narrator hockey shirtathon.
Oh yeah, you should.
See how many people I can get to do it on TikTok.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would actually be pretty fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Because there's been a couple of you guys that have been like really like rolling into like you guys, for people that are not quote unquote on camera.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys were like, TikTok, we're here.
It's creative. So I've been so reticent about self-promotion. Like I didn't even start letting anybody know I was in my little padded box until like 2019. And I was really happy with that because as an actor, you spend your whole life doing so much promotional stuff. And I was so happy to finally not have to promote myself and be working consistently. And then as things kind of started to shift and build, I realized I do actually need to do some self-promotion, and also for our listeners, because like we don't have as much access and communication with listeners as I think most of us would like, because we're listeners too. Like we just happen to be doing it, but we also like we're part of the community. We don't feel like it's us and listeners and it's like and authors and everybody's all separate. We're like, especially as a narrator, we're like, yes, we're in it. We're part of the community. And so I also just wanted to finally connect with listeners and authors. And TikTok, I was really reticent about it until like this spring or something. And it's actually creative. And I think that's why a few of us are kind of digging it, because it's you get to do like little videos. And if your friend has a video that you like, you can duet it. And then it helps your friend out. And it feels, I don't know, it's got a different kind of vibe going on in the book talk world.
Yeah, it's almost like you're doing it to promote, but it's not coming out that way. It's almost like hanging out. So because it has a different sense, it looks different. I know that as a girl that is not comfortable in front of the camera, it has been interesting to kind of figure out the TikTok world of things. But there have been a few of you guys that are narrators that are like only the audio. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't sound like that. So I don't think this is going to work.
Right.
But I love seeing you guys and having your fun. And I think one of the latest things that a lot of you guys were doing was that trick where it was like bending down.
Oh yeah.
On the drop of the music, but in a sexy way.
Yeah. I did that, I think, with Marnie and someone else.
Marnie. Yeah. And she's like, and there was one guy who was hilarious. He's like, my back.
Yeah. So good.
It's so good. But
so it gets us to be able to have a little bit more fun and make that connection with listeners and authors, which is, again, I guess it's marketing and self-promotion, but it's that kind that feels like you're just saying hi to your community, because it's really, I'm not trying to, like Marnie said, I think actually in a TikTok, she said, I never, and I wholly have felt this my whole life, I never have wanted to be famous, ever. I have always wanted to be known enough in my field that I get consistent work that I love. That's it.
Yep.
That's
I love that when she said that. I was like, that's because people have a misconception of what fame looks like, what it entails, and that what do you people are goal settings, right? I think like I want to be famous. Like, no, I want to be known as someone that helped, and I want to be known as someone that did her due diligence in learning about the community and how things worked in order to become a subject matter expert, but someone that can help someone else and find the ride and figure things out and things like that. I don't need to be famous.
100%. Yeah. Just in the field, in community, and working and doing work that I love. Yeah. Which I'm blessed to do.
Yeah. And I think also too, from an author's perspective, the fact that you guys are having fun and the listeners are interacting with you guys. We're like, so, hey, Anne, what's the next book coming out for Felicity? And, or if you guys are in the booth and you're busting out with, oh my God, this scene. Yeah. And, because people will make the list. Some people have it in a notebook. Others have it electronically about what's coming up next and what am I going to buy?
Yeah. And like, that's a huge, there is not an audiobook. If there is, I don't know why they're doing what they're doing, but there is not a single audiobook narrator who doesn't wholly respect authors, like at a very high level, the story creators and the story capturers and And so anytime we can help an author promote something we have been involved in, or like if an author's excited that you're going to do their book, you're like, I'm excited too. And you're like, yes, great. Let's help get people, because I don't care if they read it or listen to it, honestly. Like, if I'm just excited about a book that's happening, whether you read it or listen to it, just get in story. Like, story builds empathy, story builds compassion. And if nothing is going to change this bloody world, then it's going to be those two things. So like, if you can get into a story, great. I don't care how you do it.
That's
and
true.
So I love helping authors cross promote. Oh my gosh, so much.
Well, we also love seeing you guys excited about the work. I know you were saying about having like that day job scenario or survival mode kind of a thing, but knowing that you guys are having fun and you're enjoying this character, whether the character is an asshole or not, because sometimes it's fun playing the bad guy. You know, it's for me going, oh, she's having fun. I'm still getting that.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah. And also it's something relatively new, because a lot of like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, you guys were all behind the curtain stage. You guys did not venture outside of your booth.
No, we didn't.
You know, we didn't know if we needed to cast you. We had to go to like an official place, you know, in a website, and then hope that someone would read the email and give me your freaking email address. But so it's almost like old guard, new guard is how I've always been describing it. So there's still a lot of narrators that are very old guard, that they do the book, they're done, and that's it. They move on to the next. But again, I totally get that, because you guys are busting out these books left and right. Yeah. It's a lot to keep in, you know. But then the newer guards are more inclusive as far as the marketing side of things, and sharing the love and giving us bloopers and inside scoops and things like that. And I'm like, yay.
Yeah, it feels like opening the door, right? Yeah. And I think we, you know, it's hard to say anything positive's come out of the last 2 years, but the opening of people's doors and people's homes has been something that's been, I think it has had a lot of benefit to our communities. Yeah. Is that like window into people's lives? Because you were like, anybody out there? Anybody?
Yeah. Megan Tucci does a Tucson the Loose, and oh my God, she's like,
so cute.
And I'm here all by myself
again. Yeah.
Talking to my plants.
There's me in my padded box, but not an insane asylum, I swear. Just telling myself stories all day long
with different characters in different places. She's awesome. I love her. But yeah, I mean, I think human beings are curious naturally. And some of us kind of are one of those, like, we want to know more, and so hence the learners and things like that. But we're also a little bit of like that voyeur, that we kind of want to know how things turn out. What does that look like? Is your booth like, why does all the sounding thingies always black, you know? So you guys letting us in on some of your processes and systems and things like that is really cool. I know that a lot of listeners really do enjoy everything from the blooper stuff to what you're working on, because that helps with the, you know, as when we follow you guys. So thank you for that. So I think a couple of very rare but smaller 2 things have come out that have been good out of this whole pandemic.
I know. It's like I hate myself for even getting near saying that.
Well, you know, hey, sometimes you gotta. I'm that girl that tries to find the silver lining. In the worst of things, and I'm like, sometimes that is hey, I'm still here mentally. Exactly. Like, big congratulations to all. Exactly. So, do you keep your blooper reels?
So I don't.
Damn punch and roll system.
I know. And I just listened to Savannah Peachwood's interview with you too. And I was like, she's a dear one. Oh my gosh, I love that woman. And same thing, like, I'm just so like, tick, 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 tick. Like, I'm right into that punch and roll, and I'm like in the story. And when I'm in the story and doing those things, I never even think to do the blooper reel. And, you know, the first person I know who, like, she actually used to send it around to her friends. I think it was around Christmas time, was Gabra Zachman.
Oh, I love her.
She would make this incredible blooper reel. And I know actually, I think it wasn't just a blooper reel. I think it was lines from romances that she'd done, and she put them all together. So it was just, I mean, it was dirty. It was dirty.
Yeah.
And we loved it. She stopped doing it, I think, oh gosh, like 7 or 8 years ago. But it was one of the things that she put together every year for her friends. Was, I think it might have been a blend of bloopers and lines from romances that she'd done, where she was like, oh no, that line is romance perfection. It is absolutely going into that reel. And it was, oh, so good. So it has made me think. It has made me think, okay, if don't just press stop the second that you screw up, because that's what I do.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, because I know depending on your setup, if you could do another, like a phone or a camera, like a device that records, that records along with you as far as from the moment you walk in, and the moment that you have that fuck up, it's still recording it, you know? And so you have the video of it. So yeah, there's got to be, because some narrators are like sharing bloopers left and right, and I'm like, but at the same time I'm going, do I really want to be here any longer in this hot booth?
It takes a long time. So that's the thing, is it does add time. Yeah. And I mean, yes, hot booth, I'm sitting here in my bra. This is how I dress for work nowadays.
Oh, you sexy thing.
I know, Ken. It's a really, really mangy sports bra.
The glamorous job of an audiobook narrator.
It's lace, and it's good to push up, and it's very silky, I swear.
It gives you vivaciousness. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like I bike to my booth. My booth is at my sister's house, because my apartment's too loud. And so I have to bike 16 kilometers to her house. So like, I don't know, like to 9 miles.
Dang.
And it's mostly uphill on the way there. So, you know, it's unfriendly. And then I'll bike home, and it's mostly downhill, and I'm like, wee. And that's when I listen to audiobooks, because it's an hour commute there and a 45 commute home. And so that's when I listen. But it also means that when I get to my booth, I'm not pretty. I'm not pretty.
I would be winded. I'd be like, oh,
that's my warm-up.
This is not the sexy voice.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But then I also wonder, did your sister buy the house first and then you moved up there, or the other way around? Because that's definitely a sibling thing. We're like, hey, I want her to come over.
Yeah. Well, that's been the blessing of being here. So before I was in my cousin's basement, I just hang out in my family's basements. At
least you have basements,
in their basements. Yeah, it's true. Right, because you're in Miami, right?
Orlando, Florida. Yep.
Orlando. Yeah.
But basically, Florida. Yeah, no basements.
No basements. And so so I was in his basement for a while. They got some electrics redone, so I had to move my booth, and so then it was my sister's basement. Before that, I actually did have a 2-bedroom, and it was in my second bedroom. But then I fell in love with a boy, and and we moved in, and I moved into his place, and he's by a big road. He's by a major road, so there's enough sound that it's not worth it to try to navigate that. So my sister was like, "Yeah, put it in my basement," and I get to see her every day, and it's amazing. And before she was working. Now she stopped working, but she's getting her master's. And so she's mostly at home doing the education stuff. So I get to see her all the time, which is amazing. We lived apart for 18 years. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Family's huge.
When you guys get along?
We do now.
I love the caveat.
Not as kids.
Yeah.
We would both admit that as kids, it was not friendly, but as grown-ups, we adore each other. We're making up for all that lost time.
Yeah, I know. I have an identical twin sister.
Oh.
So it's not your traditional, oh my God, you guys are twins and you're like best friends. Like, fuck no, get the hell away from me.
Yeah. Like, why are you always here? And why do you look the same?
Yeah. My thing was like, if you're going to borrow my clothes, can you at least let me know in advance that you want to borrow it? So I can either tell you, yeah, go ahead, or no, because I'm going to use it for something.
Yep.
You know? Yeah. Though it was a couple of fun times. I think I got kissed by a boy once thinking it was her and vice versa. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I know a friend of mine that had a crush on me ran up to her and there was like a year or two in school difference. So he had already moved on to the next school. So we were like in middle school. So he was in high school, comes back to visit and sees her walking like her back. So thinks like specifically for me. And he runs up to her and everything, grabs her, spins her around and gives her like a pop kiss on the lips. And she's like, who you at?
Yeah. Like, oh, no,
wrong sister.
Nope. Don't know you, but thanks for that. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. But now we get along. She lives 2 hours away from me. So I try to go visit her. Yeah. There's no way I'm doing a bike ride there, girl.
No.
I love her, but no. But I do try to visit her at least once a month and go different things around there and teaching and all that other stuff. But yeah.
Aww,
but
so
yeah.
nice.
I'm glad that you guys get along, get to hang out, because dude, that bike ride up hills.
Yeah. It's good. It's like, it helps allay the amount of alcohol I've drank in the last 2 years.
Talk about also getting in shape, or at least staying healthy, right?
It's really good for my mental health. Like, it has been extraordinary for my mental health during what, this is it's been a very hard time. And so just being outside, and I live in an environment that the outside world is gorgeous. Like right now, it's total nature porn. Like it is, everything is bursting. It is cherry blossoms and just every blossoming bush that there could possibly is blossoming. The birds are crazy. So it's like, there's just times of year. And even the fact that I can ride my bike almost all year is amazing. So it does help. And especially because I have to be so still in my work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had a friend that lived out in Canada too, and I would get photos sometimes, and I'm going, yeah, I wouldn't mind living there in Canada. Yeah. But y'all are also very particular about who you let in.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't easy for me to come to the States either. I fell in love. That was my only shot, and it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Goodness. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of pros and cons to different things. But it is on my bucket list to go visit and spend some time there. Come to my
city. You will be welcomed, and you have a friend.
Yay. Oh, that's true too. When it comes down to like going to places that I've never been to before, I get nervous.
Yeah.
And I would be like, it's okay. I'll just stay at the hotel. I need the friend to say, get your ass up. We're going looking. Let's go.
Yeah. Let me show you the pretty things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go on a bike ride. Wait, where are we going? We're going to record.
I don't trust you. Don't worry. We'll walk. I swear.
Yeah. Okay. Tour of the studio. No. Yeah. The one thing that definitely, aside from the great stories and, some of the adventures that we get to live vicariously through the characters, is that we get to listen and love about you guys is accent work. And you, my dear, have a plethora of accents that you do.
Yeah.
What is your favorite accent to perform?
I love doing Scottish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, British was like, I did British since I was a little kid. I think Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, and that was it for me. Like I do standard Brit and Cockney. And also when I first graduated from theater school, I got cast as 20-year-old, like 18 to 20-year-old British girls from the 1890s to 1910. Like almost every gig I booked was me being a British girl. And so British is easy peasy for me. But lately I've been doing Scottish has come up in a bunch of books, and I'm doing a Dragon Shifter series. And oh my God, there's so many Scottish dragon shifters. And I do really enjoy it. There's something about it that is just super fun in the mouth. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's an exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely fun. And yeah, you're true. I mean, like, why of all the PNRs that I read, and I love, that's like my favorite genre, is like, oh, look, dragons. Oh, and Scottish.
Yeah. Irish, Scottish. I did a whole bunch of Russian in the last, but Russian and Eastern European.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of curious to see who's going to be the author that busts out with dragons, but from like the South.
Yes. See, and I've done shifter series that are in the South, but they're often like wolf shifters.
Yes.
Or multiple animals that like live in the, like panthers and wolves.
Well, like native to the areas to some extent, right?
Yeah,
but again, it is dragons, and technically, spoiler, not real.
Yeah.
At least not nowadays. Maybe in the past. I don't know. I wasn't there. But this is where you get to definitely do the whole like disbelief thing and just for shits and giggles, because I'm going Scottish all the damn time. What is in there, dude?
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently that's what's going on in Northern Scotland.
Yeah. You guys got
lots of dragon shifters.
Yeah. And then like we visit, of course, you don't see any, but whatever. Anyways, what about your least favorite accent to perform?
Least favorite is more like, because it's so hard. So I actually have a book coming up that I'm in July that I'm going to start to record. And one of the listed accents is one that I have not done and I am dreading, which is Welsh.
Oh.
And I do the British. I've spent so much time in the British Isles, actually physically, but also I've done plays and books with so many Irish, Scottish, British, but Welsh is like, I'm going to have to do a lot of work before I get on that one, because it is its own. You can slip into so many other accents when you're doing Welsh that is one that I'm like, I'm ready to climb that mountain. I'm ready to climb that mountain.
Yeah. See, about 3 or 4 years ago, I probably would have told you, what, it's called a field trip and it's that technically product knowledge.
Right.
Now, but nowadays I'm going, damn it, YouTube. Right there. No traveling. Right there. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't blame you. I think the British, even though as lovely as it is, there's so many different nuances depending on where from the island you're in. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, the thing about audiobooks, I feel like around accent, I think sometimes people get really, narrators, I think sometimes get really like, oh, I have to get this exact region. I have to get this exact region right. And yeah, if the book takes place there, you do, but they got to hire someone who has a history from that region. Like there's enough people, you just got to hire the right people, as opposed to if my natural accent is an American or general American accent, then anything that I'm going to deviate from that, the suspension of disbelief for the listeners is going to come along for that ride. So do I have to get every single exact nuance of that exact region for this exact thing exactly right? No, I actually don't, because it's not as important as the story, and the story is the protagonist's story. And the protagonist should have the same, or at least a similar accent to me. So say like American or American South or something that comes very easily to me, then everybody else is an addition to that. And so I'm a believer that like, I'm going to try to do my very best always. I'm definitely not a slacker in any way. But I also know that I'm not going to get every sound right because I'm not from there. Like at the end of the day, I can be exceptional at accents, and I do have quite a facility with them, but I'm not from there. So there's a certain suspension of disbelief that's going to come along for the ride. I'm also voicing another human being, so you're already believing a lot.
Yeah. Especially that hot dude that you do sometimes. Yeah.
I just don't want to take you out of the story. That's my job.
Yeah, if you don't ever
take you out, then we're good.
You don't ever want to characterize it into the Lucky Charms Irish, and things like that. But I will say that it is something too that I know that you guys worry about, because it's now such a global thing. You will have someone from Savannah, Georgia busting out with that is not a Savannah, Georgia accent and things like that. I mean, and then of course the reviews. But then again, when you have someone busting out with that is not a real Irish accent and it's about Gary Furlong and he's Irish. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's so many British people who get that they didn't know the Brit, or French speakers, or you've got an amazing French accent and you can do the French really well, and they're like, that's not how that's pronounced. I mean, I've actually had this review. I mean, the French was really bad. I mean, I don't speak French, and I was like, then you can't say that the French was bad if you don't speak the language, but you can say whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So it is, and also we're the sum of our own experiences. So even saying like that there is a Savannah, Georgia accent, it's like, what socioeconomic class? How old is the character?
Yeah.
Because the new Savannah, Georgia people don't sound like old South Savannah. They're not doing that. It's often affluent, often older generation. So it's like there's so much that's shifted. There's so many people in the South who are dropping their accents, like kids who are dropping their accent early. So there's so many things that kind of are shifting around as our world becomes more and more connected and more people live in multiple places, that it's also like, it's hard to say that there is this exact accent anymore.
Yeah,
there's like that person's and that family's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I kind of feel like that narrators can take a deep breath. And listeners can take a deep breath and go, we are telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've had some of those conversations when it comes down to like reviewing audiobooks, things you don't do. Things that are not that important. It's okay. You know,
just open up the compassion a little bit.
Just a little bit. But I am a huge advocate of casting appropriately.
Yes.
When it comes down to anything from accents to cultural to backgrounds and things like that. I know that for me too, it's an audiobook. So how do I know what you look like unless I saw a picture? But there's certain things that are cultural. And, you know, and that's something that I'm very like, okay, if you cannot do it because you're not from there or didn't grow up in that, you know, era, then don't. Let's hire someone that knows it better.
Yeah. And it's sometimes it's education. That education comes from the narrator. Like, I do feel like the industry as a whole has absolutely shifted mostly recently, from doing casting that was a bit dicey before. And they're getting really on top of that kind of casting. And in the indie world, sometimes it's listening to your audiobook narrator when you've hired them for something because you love them and they reflect back, I thank you so much. I love this story. I love this character. I love everything about it. I am not the right person for your job. I didn't realize this person was Latinx, or I didn't realize this person comes from a Chinese background, or I didn't realize all of these things. I mean, speaking from my own experience, which is a white experience, right? So like that really to hear that as much as possible, even as maybe an author of color, that when that gets reflected back, it's nobody's saying that your work isn't gorgeous or that they don't want to do it, but that you will find the right person for it. That even though, yes, there is that uniqueness of casting, that there is still enough of us out there that you will find another person who is more appropriate for your book and for your community because they have lived experience.
Yeah. And also that's where we live nowadays, as far as that technology goes, going on Twitter and saying, hey, I need a fill in the blank, character, because we have a character that's coming up that is with this background or accent. And asking, a lot of authors are now asking the readers and their listeners, hey, who are your up and coming, or who are the ones that you think need more love and things like that. And people get to kind of share new narrators and things like that. Yeah, it's real fun. Yeah, but I get it. I mean, as a Latina, my favorite is when they're like busting out with the accent, and I'm going, some of us don't have accents because we've been born and raised here, and if we do, we don't sound Mexican because Cuban.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, where are you from? Oh, right. Yeah, totally.
Or like myself, complete utter mutt.
Yeah,
with Cuban, Argentinian, and Chilean. So yeah. My accent's all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, tread lightly. If it's not in the book, if it does not state, just because it says that somebody has a background doesn't mean they have the accent.
Right.
It just is. And if it's not written in.
Yep.
If it's not said, she said with her light, or she said with her, fill in the blank accent, then don't. Is the general rule.
Yeah.
And if you're not sure if it feels like an accent has been written in, because some authors will kind of guide the language to have a feeling that an accent is there, but not stated outright. I always just ask, because I'd rather ask and have them say, I'm just not sure if this person has an accent. And I don't say why, because I don't want to, say anything about their writing. Then I get yes and no sometimes. And sometimes I get, oh yeah, I wouldn't have known that, because there's a sequel coming out and you don't find out that they have the accent till the second book. Oh boy, that's fun.
Oh yeah. That's like a running joke with me. I'm like, so like page 300, Russian accent. Shit.
Yeah. It's hard for it's hard for readers too. Cause it's like, even if you're not narrating it, when you're reading a book, you are again making up voices. You're world building. So you want to know right away if someone's got an accent in a book as a reader.
Yeah. It's fascinating 5 years forward what's been going on in the audiobook industry. So
yeah,
lots of good stuff, lots of some stuff. But anyways, but good stuff, because that's what we try to focus on, and then we educate ourselves and develop and get better. That's all we do.
Yeah, exactly. We lift it up.
Yeah. And some of the stuff has changed a lot in this lovely book world, or especially within romance. I'd like to say that romance is like an umbrella with the different subgenres underneath it. So we have, like we were talking about, the paranormal and the shifters and the vampires and all that other fun stuff. Aliens kind of fall into that one too. And then we have the contemporaries and so on and so forth, historical. And then even now, it's even almost like a second umbrella is the lovely tropes. But is there a favorite subgenre of romance that you love to perform?
I really like doing urban paranormal fantasy romance, because I think I just love playing women who can shoot magic out of their hands.
Don't piss me off. Boom. Yeah.
like it feels powerful. And they're usually complicated characters who have really interesting backgrounds, and it's very empowering, honestly, to be in the seat of that character. And I do find that they often, like the mages, the women who discover that they have these magical abilities, or they're trying to kind of navigate the magical world and the kind of mundane and magical world. Maybe it's secretive, maybe it's not, but I have really, and it's not something I read outside of like the vampire series, Interview with the Vampire series, Anne Rice growing up. I didn't read any fantasy, and it has been really fun to dive into that as the lead character. So I've been really enjoying that for romance. Yeah.
And even then, with that fantasy sci-fi kind of genre, sometimes the authors are starting to kind of mix a little bit what the boundaries are, because it used to be this was the archetype, for what they used to call urban fantasy, and then this was like for more science fiction and dystopia and stuff like that. Now everything sometimes can mix a little bit here, mix a little bit there. And
then of course for me, the other is rom-com. They're just so bloody fun. They're just super super fun. Like really, it's just, I like being sassy. I love a sassy character. I love someone who's stumbly and dorky too. Oh, that speaks right to my heart. Yeah. Right to the center of my dorky heart. And so I do love it. Those two, I think, are my faves.
Yeah. No, I do like the strong women. I like the strong, independent, smart women that are sassy, but then can be, can either have to learn to be vulnerable again because of past experiences. But the dorky nerd too is so cute. It's like,
just like finding, kind of like dorking your way into love. I'm just gonna dork my way into love. Yeah.
My only thing is please don't have it be where the moment she takes off her glasses, all of a sudden she's hot. No.
Yes.
That does not work this way. I'm sorry. I wear glasses. No. I wish.
See. And glasses are sexy, boys. And if you're girls and people who don't identify as either boy or girl, but both, and either or other, glasses are sexy. That's all I have to say.
Yes. There's lots of fun and sexiness and stuff like that. But when they're like, oh, I never noticed her. And like, so what does she do different? Oh, she wearing contacts?
And what's so funny is in the same tropes, when the guy doesn't wear his glasses, she doesn't like it as much. She's like, oh, you don't wear your glasses anymore. It was so cute. And it's like, come on.
I wonder if that comes from like the whole Superman Clark Kent thing.
Maybe.
I
think it, and the like gender role stuff around like, oh, it's the good guys who went out in the end and they were actually the smart ones, and it's the job, and it's, so I think it's sometimes a little bit of holding on to some of those old, the guy that you actually want to have a happily ever after with.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Interesting.
Yes. Should do a panel for a convention one of these days. To
Oh my
glasses or not glasses?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to allure the romance one in
September. Yeah, I was just gonna bring it out that where things are kind of starting again a little bit as far as conventions and the book signing. So it's funny too because we're all like allure this, allure that. Does anybody here know what allure stands for?
I know if you're alluring.
Oh, okay.
If you have allure,
yeah,
someone wants to come on over to you.
Yeah. Which
but
is perfect.
I think I'm going to bring Felicity's outfit for that. And so I'll have glasses me and then Felicity and her wig and hat.
Nice.
We'll have to hang out some nights.
Yeah. So it's called Audio Lovers Listen Up Romance Extravaganza. Hence allure.
Nice.
And it's happening in Chicago this September 22nd to the 24th. And like you were saying, you're going as Felicity.
Yeah.
So how, and you mentioned the wig and stuff like that, but how does Felicity, kind of show up to these events versus when Erin goes? Is there?
Well, this will be the first event where both of us come together. So I am fascinated because I've been having fun because at first I didn't separate the two of us. I always have had a pseudonym for all romance. And it doesn't matter if it's closed door, open door. Otherwise, if it's romance, it goes under Felicity. It just does. And so at first I didn't want to have all the different social media accounts because I was kind of resistant to all of that. And then I realized, no, the romance world is its own world and it's a beautiful, very vibrant world. And so they needed Felicity there on her own. And then when I got into the TikTok, I was like, what would be fun for me? Because this has got to be fun for me. And so that's when Felicity got an outfit. And now Felicity has an outfit. And so I think I'm just going to have her in my bag. And every once in a while, when it feels like Felicity time, maybe it's time for shots. Who knows? Felicity will come out and we'll see how that rolls.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Well, and it's me being a theater kid too. It's fun to have, to actually play that different role. And so it's just for me to entertain myself and hopefully a few other people.
Yeah. But I also think that it allows us to, I don't want to say pretend but it's one of those things that it gives. Yeah, it's role play, but it's also a little bit of that freedom because same thing like when you cosplay a character, you embody that personality, the girl that's shy all of a sudden is kicking ass and stuff like that. So I think that it's kind of fun. I sometimes wonder, I'm like, maybe I should have done a pseudonym for Vivi when it came down to all this stuff that I do, but I like money.
You do have a very, very appropriate romance name.
Yeah, thank you.
Viviana is, somebody needs to put that on a book.
Yeah, people are like, oh, wasn't it Vivian? I go, Vivian is not Viviana.
No, Viviana is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a childhood issue for me. Anyways.
Yeah.
But I am so excited that you're going. And so is this going to be your first time ever to a convention and a signing? Or is it for you as an attendee signing?
So this is the first time. So it's the first time Allura's happened. And it's the first this type of convention that I've been to. So I was going to go to one in Texas, but then it just got a little dicey because of COVID. And I've done voiceover conferences, but I haven't ever done one that is centered around authors. And there's going to be this mix of narrators as well. And I kind of don't know what to expect. So I got a couple authors that I work for. They're going to, do their books. They're going to come down. I'm hoping Lisa Edmonds, who writes the Alice Munroe series, is going to come. And so I want to be there to help authors. So if that means we sign audiobooks that I've done of their books, great. If that means that I can support them and I just want to be there for the authors. Yeah. And the listeners. Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
I'm so fascinated.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to expect.
Anything from potentially signing a dick pillow to because it has happened. In fact, there was this one author, there's something to do with like a maxi pad. It was like a running joke in her reader group, and it became like to the point where it came outside of her reader group, and so maxi pads galore, and things got signed.
Wow. Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah. Well, for you guys as narrators, I mean, the authors tends to the physical book is what we've always kind of traditional, and so for the narrators, like, what do you guys sign? And there's been a lot of fun things that have come out of it. People are doing almost like scrapbooks with the book covers. I've seen that done. I've seen people just doing a mat where anybody signs, and then they'll do color coding again with the color coding in spreadsheets. Narrators in one color and authors in another, and things like that. But even pillows, like I have, but again, dating myself, back in the day when you checked out a book from the library card, you had a stamp card.
Yep. So
I have 2 small pillows with that pattern, and so I have one for authors and one for narrators. It's double-sided.
Right.
So that's what I'm bringing. It goes in a suitcase real easily, but it'll be fun. Yeah. So we'll have to off air talk about some options for you that you can have in some swag.
Gotta figure it out, especially with the Munroe. Everyone can be in Munroe.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I look forward to seeing Felicity out in the wild.
My cosplay. I love
it. You gotta have fun. No matter what you do in life, you gotta have fun. Yeah. Speaking of fun, what is your favorite word?
I love the word mellifluous.
Ooh.
And it's because it feels good in my mouth. And it kind of sounds like what it is. It's mellifluous. Like it sounds like music. Yeah, I've always been a fan of that word.
Nice.
Never said it in a book.
No. And I'm wondering if you were to say it, if you would triple over it, just because that would be that would be my luck.
It would be a hot mess. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. But on my podcast, you did excellent.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I used all my words.
My bad. Sorry, not sorry. What about your favorite curse word?
Oh, I love fuck. Fuck is a great word. It's just got all the punch. Yeah, Nice. It's definitely the one I use the most and the one I have to be mindful of the most.
I get you. I got you. As the girl that can use it as a verb, noun, adjective, and anything.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, crap, I'm at Disney. I can't see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. When they're walking 6 across and you're going, fucking move. I can't. I'm like, damn it, I'm at Disney. I can't do that.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
But it would have drained the points so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite swear word?
Well, fuck, I think kind of like encompass it a lot, but I also go bloody hell, like when it's like, and then of course being bilingual, I get to have that gamut of different, kind of curse words depending. I know.
Spanish.
Yes.
They sound like they feel good.
Yeah. Not only that, but I mean, that's the difference too, when it comes down to like the English versus the Spanish. In English, you can do something like motherfucker. You can combine and do those compound words. But in Spanish, the list is endless of how many words you can put together. Yeah. Me cago en la hija de la puta madre, coño. It's like there's like 5 right there. And you're going, I'm not done with you.
Yeah. I'm just going to keep talking. It's basically just going to be a string.
Yes,
long
it's a string, and depending on where the emphasis are, the words are in, and then of course culturally, and depending on the country and everything else, they mean different things. So you're going, oh no, it's fun. Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, when I get upset, I go into Spanish mode, and the Argentinian accent comes out. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like, oh no, she's pissed. Walk away.
Yeah. Just walk away. Just walk away.
Yeah. But now in English, it's fucking like bloody hell. It's just, and a good damn it sometimes, kind of works too. But options. One of the things I do love, and also because it's fun and it's also getting to know you guys, is playing the game of Two truths and a lie, where you tell me 3 things about you and we have to figure out which one's the lie.
Okay.
And I do say we because y'all are listening or playing along. Okay.
Yes. Play along. Play nice.
Yes. Let us know if you
Ready?
guessed right. Yes. So what are your 3 things, Felicity?
Okay. Here are 3 things.
Erin.
Yeah. Okay. I used to bareback ride horses. I have done aerial silks. I have skied and kayaked in the same day.
Damn it. Okay, so we have bareback horseback riding, aerial silks. For those that don't know what that is, it's literally a silk fabric, and she's up in the air, flipping around and stuff, and swinging. And oh my goodness, you said skiing and kayaking on the same day?
Yeah.
Oh goodness gracious, because you're going, where can she ski and kayak at the same time, weather-wise? Let's see. I'm gonna go with the last one being a lie.
You're right. But I can do that where I live. It's actually my dream of where I live. So I can ski and kayak absolutely in the same day. It's easy peasy. They're like 30 minutes from one another. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. I'm assuming, and tell me if I'm wrong, mountains for the skiing part, and then lower end of things. So it's,
So I go up the mountain 20 minutes or half an hour, ski, go down the mountain, get in a kayak, and go on the ocean. And that's right where I live. It's actually, I got close to it one day. I snowboarded and then came down and went to the beach, but I didn't actually get on the water. So it's the big brag here is that that's what you can do in the winter here is you can ski and kayak in the same day.
Nice.
Yeah, but I haven't yet.
You haven't yet.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. So we're just putting it out there.
There will be no more lying.
I know. To come up with something else. When someone asks you that in your next, networking and getting to know each other activity of brain ice, icebreakers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for those are all HR terms. This is what I do for the day job. But anyways, before we go, can you tell us what you're currently working on, if you can share, and what's coming up next for you?
So right now, I'm doing a series of sci-fi romances with Stephen Dexter, and the first set I can talk about. So there's 2 different sets, 2 different groups. Basically, a virus hits the universe. Sound familiar? It takes out most of the men on Earth. So at first, the population is going to die out.
Okay.
And then they get a little knock, knock, knock from outer space. And they're like, hello, we are the Xylans. And so there's 4 books in that series. And then there's another book with 5, or another series with 5. And it's one of those series that's, it's a lot of work in a good way because there are all first person POV, which means I actually have to change my narration voice, my main me, for each book just slightly because I'm playing a different woman that gets established in the book and they have conversations with each other because they all know each other. It's so hard. But it's good. It's like a good workout. It's always good to get a group of those. And then and these are romance. And then I've got a series, the Serenity Falls series, which is a cozy romance series by Sophie Mays. That is it's just lovely. It's about a family on a ranch and all their kids are slowly falling in love. It's just nice to have that juxtaposition because the alien romance is a lot of fascinating things with a lot of fascinating members and
multiple members in some areas.
Oh yeah. Tails are an amazing thing. I did not know. And the appendages are extraordinary.
Yeah.
And then I get to go back to Serenity Falls and be the different kind of that's third person, so at least I only have to change the character voices, not the main narration. And I get to have these sweet romances, which it's always nice to have that variety. And then Erin has a book coming out that I was so thrilled to do, which is called The Children on the Hill, and it's a suspense thriller. And it was just, the chapters are from different POVs, and you don't know kind of what fully is going on for a while, which is really, really fun. It was super fun as a narrator to do that. And then I got to do a couple mysteries, which is nice. I don't always get to do mysteries, and they are so fun. And the other is Cheddar Off Dead, and that one just released, and it's got the best title, Cheddar Off Dead. And it's about a cheesemonger in Sonoma who solves the mystery, or is trying to solve the mystery of a murder that happens there. So yeah, so that's what I have kind of coming up and getting released in the near future.
Yeah.
Not already released. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you never know. Sometimes they're like, yeah, we have a date 3 weeks before it's out. And then, oh, yeah, we have a date. Or it's been a month and a half. It's still not out.
Yeah. Oh, and the other one, actually, I should mention is the Alice Munroe series, which I've been working on for 5 years. Lisa Edmonds. The fans have been wanting to know when the next 2 books are coming out, and I am set to record them in June. So they will be out and in your ears in probably August or September.
Yes.
And I can, so those are coming out.
Nice. Okay, good. So, yeah, because that's the other thing too. Sometimes I will say that sometimes when a book series are really long, like more than 10 books, I always like, oh, but when's the next one coming out? Because you start devouring them and you'll listen to everything. And then all of a sudden you got to sit and wait, you know, and you're going, or when there's serials and, you know, and you're like, a lot of people don't do cliffhangers, but some of them are like that. And you're going, but we just want more stories. So
yeah.
Which is great when you have multiple areas and the genres. I mean, you're going from aliens to sweet romance to some murder mystery. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one's like fantasy romance, urban fantasy romance, and then those other ones are like, because they're under Erin, they're like mystery, and it was like the 70s to the modern day.
Nice.
One is a mystery, and then the others is like a cozy mystery. It's just fun to. I love. I'm very, very grateful that I've got a career that bounces around. Like, and I do a lot of YA and stuff too, and I'm just very, very grateful for that. Yeah,
you can run the gamut. And the listener, sometimes I know that we have said things like, we like knowing the pseudonyms when we can, because we fall in love with your voice and your performance and how you do things. So we're like, well, what else? Well, we wait on Felicity. Let's get something from Erin.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you for sharing all this stuff. I appreciate
you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be able to hang out at Allure.
I know it's going to be so much fun. We're going to have so much fun in Allure. And I will be including information about the Allure, but also everything else that we talked about today in the show notes for this podcast over at Viviana, Enchantress of Books. But I did want to say thank you again for hanging out with me and spending time.
Thank you so much. It was such a lovely way to end my day. Thank you.
And I'll include all your links so people can follow you and get to know you better, and then talk to you about maybe we can get Gabra to do that book again thing for the I love you, Gabra.
Yeah. Hey. Call out.
Yeah. So hey, remember that thing we used to
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll keep you guys posted. Yes. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast listening group wants to know. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. Special thanks to Nixley Zenner, Carol Liebner, Line Black Peterson, Brittany Robinette Leiter, Dawn Darch, Michelle Bastard, Nancy Billows. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobookloving. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.